Well, we're back from Florida. It was interesting. You got the most important thing when I sent you via email the futures report from AACC. It's going to be useful in a number of different ways. I met with one of my individuals who's preparing for her comps, and I looked at the questions she was being asked, and I said, particularly in the first question, which deals with the overall structure of the American Community College movement, she can look into that thing. It's very well indexed. It's very well structured. And it will certainly impress the folks reading those questions that you have the state-of-the-art report. I would also encourage some of you, as I've looked at the modules, some of the stuff that's in there, I have to apologize for. I don't have any control over it. The stuff that I would put in there would be far more up to date. But feel free to use what you're receiving from me, as well as what's in there. We do have that much authority as the individual implementer of the course to react. Several of you have done that with that reimaging of the community college. Maybe as we get a little further into the course, you'll find yourself able to use those 6 questions. Plus, I have several other things coming to you that, along with that surprise, which I just got, which was the futures report. Okay, in Module 2, it starts with 2 sets of slides, both of which are very good. The first set of slides deals with the majority aspect of the entire module, which is how do we deal with President Obama's challenge. A number of you have begun to write on that issue already in Module 1, and it carries over to Module 2. Where that all becomes interesting is how do we need to modify our mission statements so that they reflect not just the open door, but the persistence through to completion. And I think that will be very, very useful. The calendar's not right. You know that. I've sent you a new calendar. So basically, what we're thinking about is the assignments for Module 2 should be due back to me. Module opened today. It should be back to me by about the 2nd. I was giving you the 2nd, 3rd of May, the Thursday to play with. Yes, I also know that they've screwed up the discussion board. I never intended for you to be in groups or to issue questions. You certainly, if I can get that adjusted Monday morning, you'll be able to ask questions if you want to. But this is a critical thinking course. I'm more interested you look at the readings, the material I send you, and things that interest you, and you go about doing some critical analytical thinking, and you put the stuff where it's accessible to your colleagues. Like I said, I need a couple techies to make this work, and I will certainly have that done. Also, by the time you see this module, all of the material you've sent to me over the last 6 or 7 to 10 days will be done. I apologize abjectly. Several of you know me. You know I don't let stuff last. Somebody asked me what was it like in Miami. It's like the old tale of two cities, the best of times, the worst of times. Picked up some incredibly useful techniques for the qualitative research course I'll teach this summer. But more sadly, AACC let us down. Normally they have a business suite with lots of computers, and I would have been able to respond to you while in Orlando. They didn't do that this time. At the same time, I stay with a particular motel chain because they're very well known for their business suites. Well, the place I stayed in had a wonderfully low price. They were very nice people. They're completely refurbishing the place. The last thing that will be refurbished is the business suite. So I just didn't have computer access, and I do apologize for that. Some of the stuff from that first module, if you still want to send me things, I think most of you have already done it. But if you just send me anything more, send it to me directly on email, and I'll respond back to you the same way. You will get all of your points. I promise you that. I really will have to have a long heart-to-heart with Dr. GK. That one article that I read in Module 2, the historical article, is painful. Only because that stuff was out of date when I was sitting where you are. Familiar with some of it, have worked with some of that material myself 35 years ago. I would encourage you to look at other things. However, I do think that there is, I always like, those of you that know me know I like phraseology. I like keywords. So if you can discern what exactly the person was trying to tell us when they talked about foxes and hedgehogs, McGregor Burns, one of our leadership theorists whom you've read, used the phrase the lion and the fox when he talked about Franklin Roosevelt and the type of leader that Franklin Roosevelt was. And you can certainly go ahead and use that dichotomy of foxes and hedgehogs if it does something for you. I didn't find it useful particularly. Okay, the next one is not bad. It is done in 2010. It's an attempt to bring a focus, or if you will, a conceptual framework that you can use to put President Obama's material into a framework. And I think it's pretty good. What I think you need to do with it is to look at those frameworks that they're giving you. You will be dealing with these kinds of theories yourself. There's a course in planning coming up, which I think you'll find it very useful. When you get into the course of technology, the way in which technology integrates with these systems, I think is very important. I also do appreciate and will use the phrase myself, systems dynamics. I think it's real. I know that when I work with my other love of sociology, we use a systems dynamics model quite frequently. I would also suggest, when you look at systems dynamics, that one of the things you spend some time doing is looking at the work of Peter Senge. Now, I think in the Learning College, which you should have already had, if I'm wrong, then this will come later. But in the Learning College, Dr. Link does introduce you to Peter Senge's work. He talks about the fifth dimension. That's fine. I think what you ought to really look for, and you can get it from Amazon or one of those places, but it's worth having in your library, and that is the fifth dimension field manual or field book. It gives you some ideas of how Dr. Senge and his team at MIT see application of what he's talking about. I think it's very, very helpful and very good. So I suggest you look at that. The other thing, of course, and maybe this is something you can work in the subsequent modules to the assignments you have to turn in, and that is, how does all of this system stuff fit into what you personally are doing where you are? And I don't mean to toady to you, if you will, but I do feel very strongly that you are an extremely well-prepared, extremely insightful, critical thinking-oriented cohort. And I think that that's important, and I hope that you will. If you have to, you can use the water cooler, or you can send emails back and forth to each other, because you can go up into course tools, and that may be handy. If I can't get everything straightened out the way I want it on the discussion board. I might add something else we picked up that I'm excited about from our time in Orlando. One of the sponsoring organizations of that meeting, was Blackboard. Blackboard knows how important they are to a lot of these. I'm in an area where they move carts around all the time. I apologize for the noise. But they're going to start to have sometime soon, maybe not by the end of this course, but very soon, maybe even into the summer, they're going to have a synchronous visualization model or module, if you prefer, up. I have trouble with synchronicity on the type of teaching we're doing because we set this up as an asynchronous model. GK and Link and I don't agree. They say, well, you must give up a Sunday evening and do the office hour with me. I'd rather, if you want an office hour, I told you mine, or any time that you need me. You have several phone numbers and an email address. I've talked with several of you on the phone at times that were mutually convenient. You know from these YouTubes what I look like. Hopefully some of you will make it to our August workshop. Soon as that's up, if it is as user-friendly, I don't consider Adobe at all user-friendly. And if we can figure out a way so that we can do it so I don't disrupt your already overly busy schedule, we'll try to do that. Okay, so from this point on, I will continue to provide you. This is going up. You probably already know that. I'll send you an email. But this is going up Monday morning. It's a little behind, but that's okay. The next one will go up as it should. It should go up the day before the module opens, which means that a week from yesterday, today is Friday the 27th, a week from yesterday, which should be the 30th, first, second, by the 3rd, you'll have the module, the YouTube module for 3.